Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be ranking all 11 Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts movies. Now, I have watched these movies about 100 times at this point. Between the times that my husband has wanted to watch them, I have wanted to watch them. We make people who visit our house watch them, or even if it's just me watching them here and there to get content for my videos. And each one of the times that I have watched them, I always think that the one I'm watching is my favorite. And mentally, I try to put them in order of which one is my favorite to least favorite. And to be honest, sometimes it's so hard because each one of these has their own special and unique things that make them really stand out. I will say I am only going to take in consideration the details that are in the movies themselves. I will not be taking in consideration any details from the books because I feel that the books deserve their ranking on their own, just because there's so much content in the books that not necessarily made it into the movies, and even vice versa, there's things in the movies that not necessarily is canon to the books. And I also will not be taking in consideration any details that I know about Harry Potter due to what I do here and having to look up for information. This is just me ranking the movies as someone who has never read the books, as someone who has never done any other research, just plain and simple what you can see in the movies. So in my number 11 spot, I have Fantastic Beasts and Secrets of Dumbledore. Now, it hurts me, it pains my heart to say that because I was so much looking forward to this movie. When I heard they were going to make a movie about the Secrets of Dumbledore, I was so excited because in the Harry Potter franchise, we see in several occasions it being mentioned how Dumbledore maybe wasn't exactly the clean-cut wizard we thought he was. It kind of made us feel like maybe in the past he had done some shady things that we probably wouldn't think he was capable of doing. So when they said that he was this movie was going to be about his secrets, I thought for sure we were going to get some of that information. But I was a little bit disappointed with this movie. Number one, because I feel this movie is a really good example of when authors, book authors, write plays for the movies, scripts for movies. A lot of people think that writing a book and writing a script for a movie is the same, or that if you know how to do one, you can do the other. And sometimes you can. I'm not saying that anyone who writes a book can't write a script for a movie, but it's just completely different. With books, I feel you have to be very descriptive and very narrative because you're relying completely on the words for you to convey a message and to create that image in a person's mind, versus in a movie, you have the visuals that are helping you, so you don't have to rely as heavily on the actual script, dialogue or narration, right? And I feel like Secrets of Dumbledore made the mistake oftentimes to tell us a lot of information versus showing us. And I find they took a lot of time from the movie to add the other story that was running parallel to Dumbledore's story about the chilling and all this kind of stuff. And to me, I understand why they did it, because at the end of the day, they're trying to put this movie within this Fantastic Beasts franchise. That comes to my other point of these movies is I feel that with Harry Potter, because they had the chance to have 8 movies that became complete successes, they kind of wanted to do the same thing with Fantastic Beasts. I know it said Fantastic Beasts was going to be 5 movies, and I don't even know if they're going to do the next 2. But I feel like they're trying to put these movies in a group. But I don't feel like these movies fit together the way the Harry Potter movies fit together, because the Harry Potter franchise, yes, a lot of the movies, different things were happening throughout the movies, and not each story was the same in each one of the movies. But at the end of the day, it was they all were tied together by the main story, which was Harry Potter and Voldemort, right? Against Voldemort. With Fantastic Beasts, I feel like they're trying to do that, but it's not really working for them because The first movie was, yeah, all about fantastic beasts and the magical creatures and all that. And then the second one was like about Grindelwald. And then they still had like the fantastic beast element in it with Credence. But it's like, is it really, or are you just trying to force it to be like a fantastic beast thing when it really isn't? And then in Secrets of Dumbledore, for me, it was like the story should have been its own thing. Like, I feel like they forced the whole story of the chilling into this movie because they have to have something in there that is Fantastic Beast related so that it kind of fits into the Fantastic Beast franchise. When in all honesty, I feel like we just wanted a Dumbledore movie. Like, we could care less about all this other stuff. I didn't like it. Like, I really didn't like it. I was so disappointed because I wish they would have taken that opportunity to do more, to show us more about the Dumbledore that we all have grown to love from from the Harry Potter movies. And this was just a missed opportunity. So that's why for me, Fantastic Beasts Secrets of Dumbledore is in my last spot. In my number 10, and I think people probably are not going to agree on this one, I have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Now, this movie I actually really did enjoy. I loved the whole movie, the introduction of the magical creatures. I love Newt Scamander. Eddie Redmayne for me is such a good actor. I love him. I loved Jacob's character. I loved Queenie. Like, we were introduced in this movie to so many characters that were so good. And the actual story, like the movie story, the plot of the movie was really good. I think it fits perfectly with the Fantastic Beast theme. I think if there's any of these three movies that should actually be Fantastic Beasts and something, is this one. The ending of the movie for me was a little bit because I didn't like that switch that they did of him now being someone else. Although maybe I have to go back and watch this movie and try to understand it better. Was it that he was trying to act like it was somebody else and then at the end it was him? Maybe it was that. Maybe I just missed that detail. Maybe I need to watch it another 100 times. For me, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's just not like in my favorites, and it's not my favorite from the Fantastic Beasts franchise. So in my number 9 spot, I have Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, before you unsubscribe to my channel, dislike this video, and cancel me on all social media platforms, I am very well aware that this movie is pretty much the one everyone says they dislike out of this franchise. But to be honest, for me, out of the three, it was the one that I felt more entertained with. Now, I will say I am a very, very big Johnny Depp fan. I really love the work that he has done in movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and all the Tim Burton movies that he's done. I feel like those characters really fit his style. But I will say that I don't necessarily feel like he is the person that I would imagine Grindelwald to be. Like, when I think about Grindelwald and the story of him, I don't think about the Grindelwald that Johnny Depp portrayed, although for me it was enjoyable. If anything, I feel like Mads Mikkelsen is more the Grindelwald that I have in my mind, except for me he was a little bit too bland in the Secrets of Dumbledore, and I don't know if it's just because that's just his way of interpreting like the character, or if it was because the writing was so crappy that that's just what he was like working with. But for me, I really enjoyed this movie out of the three. I feel that with this one, I was really interested from start to finish. I loved the storyline of Credence. I absolutely love how they like integrated Nagini's story into this movie. It's such an interesting story, and I know a lot of people don't maybe like it because it kind of affects a little bit of how we see Nagini the snake in Harry Potter. But for me, it was so interesting to see this backstory to the Nagini that we know in Harry Potter. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video that explains it. I'll go ahead and link it down below or annotate it here. But I really like the storyline in this movie. I feel like everything that was happening within the movie kind of worked together, even if it was like different things, because Credence was doing his own thing with Nagini and trying to find who he was. But it really worked with the story of Grindelwald and what he was trying to do. And at the end, I was so shocked. And again, there's going to be spoilers in this video. I was so shocked how Queenie went with Grindelwald. And that kind of left me like wanting to know what was going to happen next. Like, I think this movie did such a good job of tying together Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them with Secrets of Dumbledore, if Secrets of Dumbledore had been a better movie. So now is where it gets a little bit more difficult because it's the Harry Potter movies. But I will say that in my number 9, I have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So this movie was actually really, really good. I think it was better towards maybe the last third of the movie than maybe the first 2/3 of the movie. I feel like a lot of the things that make me like this movie all happened like towards the end, especially when we are able to see like Voldemort come back to being the Voldemort in his body, and we have the scene of unfortunately Cedric passing away, which is also one of the saddest scenes in the whole franchise, especially when his dad sees his son's body and realizes what happened. For me, that part of the movie was just so heartbreaking. But throughout the movie itself, it was a good movie. It was more of a coming of age story than it was an actual like Harry Potter and Voldemort type of story, which is fine because there's, I mean, 8 movies in total, and each one of them can't be like a whole Harry Potter versus Voldemort thing from start to finish, which that's understandable. I think they did a good job at deciding to make this story more of a coming of age type of thing for the characters, because while this movie is being filmed, the kids, like the actors, are also like going through their teenage years. So it was nice to give that chance to them experience their teenage years also as their characters. The Yule Ball was beautiful and everything, and I really liked the movie itself. But if I have to rank them in order, I think this one would be in my number 8th spot, just because I feel like most of the action was at the end and a lot of the stuff in the beginning was was okay, was interesting, but we could have had any other story happen and it would have been just as fine. In my number 7, I have the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Now, I know a lot of people might not agree with this one because I know a lot of people are really fond of the Half-Blood Prince book. But like I said, we are going to go based off just the movie. And for me, it was a good movie. I will say, I wish I could rank it higher because for me, it's one of those, like the ending of this movie is one of those moments that is just completely changing to the whole franchise, right? So to have that moment where Dumbledore is no longer with us was just heartbreaking. And that makes me want to rank it higher because it's such an important part of the entire story. But if I'm looking at the movie as a whole, I feel like some of the other movies have more happening or more going on for the entire movie that's more, that I find I like more. Although this movie I really liked because it was a chance to see a little bit more of the story kind of like in Draco's perspective, because this is that movie where we see Draco really, really take on his dark side and we see how he is now part of the Death Eaters. But if you really take a look at it and you're really focused on it, you'll see how there's a lot of moments where I really feel sorry for Draco because, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, he made his own decisions. And yeah, that's true, he did. But at the same time, I think a lot of the times, I don't think he realized what he was getting himself into until he actually started to see what Voldemort was capable of doing. And there's a lot of moments in this movie where you kind of see his face and he's doing the things he knows he has to do because that's expected of him, whether it be by Voldemort or his mom and dad, or just people are expecting just him to be bad. For me, even though he has joined the dark side, he still has some type of love for Hogwarts, right? And I think that's also why he wasn't able to go through with killing Dumbledore, because he didn't really want to do that. You know, that was just something that he knew he had to do, because if he didn't do it, like he said, Voldemort would kill him. So he kind of felt like he was between a rock and a hard place. But for me, having this movie kind of give us that glimpse into Draco and his feelings and his struggles with maybe not wanting to be in the bad side, but feeling like that was his only option because that's where his parents have always been and he doesn't want to disappoint them, or thinking that maybe if he does go towards the good side, that maybe his parents will be in danger, himself will be in danger. It was a really good way to see that struggle, seeing them destroy Hogwarts and destroy Hagrid's huts was just great direction on the director's part to have those scenes included. So for me, it was a good movie, but again, there's things in the other movies that make me like them more. So that's why this one is in my number 7 spot. So in my number 6, I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone. This movie is amazing. It's hard to not want to rank this movie in first place, and the only reason that I don't have it in my first place is because I've realized, especially when I watch other YouTubers who do like reaction videos to watching the Harry Potter movies for the first time, which is something that I love to watch on YouTube. And if you haven't done so and you like Harry Potter, I would really recommend you do, because it's so fun to see people watching the movies for the first time and kind of experiencing that first time with them. Because for people like me, or maybe yourself, who has seen the movies so many times, the feeling is different when you watch them too. So to see them being seen by someone for the first time, it kind of makes you feel like you're also watching them for the first time, if that makes sense. But I find that when I am watching people react to the Harry Potter movies, I usually want them to watch this one, and I'm happy when they watch this one, but I'm really excited for them to like get through the first couple of ones, just because I want them to get to the point where it starts getting a little bit dark. And that's why I don't rank this one higher. But I also can't rank this movie any lower, because for me, this movie marks the start of something amazing. Like, had this movie not existed, had this book not existed, we wouldn't have the Harry Potter that we have today. So this was kind of that starting point. And this is that movie that has like the introduction to all the characters that we have learned to love, that have been consistent throughout the movies, like Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore and Hagrid and Harry and Hermione and Ron and Draco, and all like our main characters, right? This is that movie that introduced them to us, where we've learned to love them, where we've learned to love Hogwarts, where we have the sorting ceremony, which like has such an important place in Harry Potter fans, because we sort ourselves and we see what house we fall into. So this movie is just so full of so much magic and adventure that it's so hard not to rank it higher. For me, it's like this is the beginning of everything, and there's just so much there. Like the soundtrack, and let me just say, going back, the soundtracks of these movies are so good. If you're ever in the mood of like just listening to some like music, that like some instrumental music, and you have the chance, look it up on YouTube. They do have them on YouTube, and just listen to them. It's so amazing. Like, it's so crazy how much music and lighting can affect a feel of a movie. But the music in this movie is so recognizable. It's just everything in this movie is perfect. I love it. The only reason, again, why I don't rank it higher is because I find that some of the other movies are more my style or to my liking, but this one definitely did not disappoint. And this movie will always have a very, very special place in, I think, my heart and every single Harry Potter fan's heart. In number 5, I have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Similar to the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, this movie is another one that is just such a classic. It's like the happy Harry Potter movies, right? Because we know that after like Goblet of Fire forward, things start getting a little bit darker, a little bit more heavy, more mysterious. But these Harry Potter movies, especially the first two, are just like that young Harry Potter, that magical Harry Potter, the Harry Potter that every little 11, 12-year-old read and wanted to like be part of. So Chamber of Secrets, I love it. I love that it has so much content with the Weasleys. The Weasleys are such an amazing family in the Harry Potter franchise, and to have them there, to be able to see them more, to see their personalities, to get more of Molly Weasley and how stern and strict she was towards her kids, but yet at the same time with Harry, he could do no wrong in her eyes. To have Mr. Weasley, who should have been more maybe authoritative towards his kids, have him be so excited when they stole the car was such a funny moment of the movie. And here's where we get to see more of the twins and of Ron. And also, I mean, here's where we get to meet Dobby for the first time. And who doesn't love Dobby? I love Dobby. He is one of my favorite characters of the movies. And it's just a really fun movie to watch, right? It's one of those movies where you're just so excited to see it, where it just makes you smile, where you get even more characters that you love. So it's just one of those movies that holds a really special place in your hearts. Now, again, I don't rank it higher because for me, it's a good movie, and I like the interaction between Tom Riddle and the Basilisk and all that. But when I compare it to the other movies, I kind of like the other ones more. So that's why it is in my number 5 spot. But again, it's just such a good movie, and it holds another really special place in my heart. So in my number 4 spot, we have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, this movie I know is one of the fan favorites. I know a lot of people who say this is their favorite movie, and I know a lot of people who say this is also their favorite book. And I can definitely see why. This movie has so much packed into it, but at the same time, it's just so good. Like, you never get bored. From the moment it starts, you have like Harry blowing up the aunt at the Dursley's house, which is my son's probably favorite part of all the movies. We get introduced to Lupin, who in my opinion is the best defense against the dark arts teacher ever. And we also have like the Dementors, and we get to know about the Patronus charm. We also get to finally have like Sirius Black, which is one of the best characters in the entire series, no doubt about it. And it's so nice to have him because up until this point, Harry has no one other than his friends and the Weasleys, which have done a great job to be like that supporting family type of figure that he needs. But he really doesn't have anyone of his own that he can call family. And this is the movie where Harry finally gets someone to be his family and on his side, which is such a breath of fresh air because he's been so mistreated up until this point by the Dursleys. And it's also really special because Sirius not only is like a family like figure to him, but is also someone who knew his mom and his dad. So it's someone who can talk to him about his parents and who can tell him about the things they did and about how great they were and just nice things, which I'm sure that Harry wasn't really hearing up until this point because we already know for sure the Dursleys weren't saying anything nice about them. This movie overall is so good. It has like so much action packed into it. We have the Time Turner and we have the Hippogriff, and Hagrid is now a professor, and it's just such a good entertaining movie that there is no doubt it would make it into my top 4. Now, in my number 3, I have the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Now, I know a lot of people don't love this movie because they say it's a little bit boring because a lot of it is like in the forest and them trying to find the Horcruxes, and towards where like other movies kind of like Prisoner of Azkaban, we had like stuff happening like back to back to back to back to back, different things. Here it's more of a like slower pace kind of movie, and I think that is what makes me love it so much more, because we've had these movies be like fast paced up until now, and I think taking it in a little bit slower pace and showing us like more of this subdued, scenery and situations that are happening kind of gives us the idea of the time that was being spent by them in the forest trying to find the Horcruxes, because it wasn't like they were there for a couple of days, right? So if we have the idea in our mind that, oh, they've only been there a couple of days, we wouldn't understand kind of like the frustration that Ron was going through, to not know about his family, of seeing, these days go by. At this point, they don't probably even know what day it is or how long they've been out there, being in fear that someone is going to see them, to catch them, that at any moment, someone will just show up. It has to be really, really stressful knowing that they have to find these Horcruxes, and that one, they don't know where they are, and two, even if they did know where they are, they don't know how they're going to destroy them. So it is a movie that I think serves really well of having it between the Half-Blood Prince and the Deathly Hallows 2, because we ended the Half-Blood Prince with the death of Dumbledore. So we already know that things aren't really looking good for us at this point. And now we know that Deathly Hallows 2 is going to be intense. So it's kind of like a good way for us to get that breather in the middle. And for me, it's just a really good movie. It does really good in explaining a lot of things for us. We get to see Dobby again, which is always a plus in every single movie. We also get to see how powerful elf can actually be, where he doesn't even need to want to do magic. So we get to see really how, not loyal, because I don't think loyal is the word that I'm looking for, but to know that an elf had that amount of power, yet they were so submitted to their master when Dobby was like the Malfoy's elf, to know that he could have rebelled against them because he's obviously very, very strong, but chose not to out of fear, is really crazy to me. But we get to see Luna again, and I love Luna as well. And we get to see another one of the best Harry Potter movie moments for me, which is the tale of the three brothers. I have another video that talks about that, how I feel that is just one of the best moments. It was just so well done. So we also get that explanation, that story in there for us. So this movie was, to me, was fantastic. I absolutely love it. I know that when I am watching the movies, this is one of my go-to, I would say my top 3 go-tos. It served its purpose, although I know a lot of people don't like it, but for me, it's in my top 3 for sure. So in my number 2 spot, I have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, this movie almost made it into my number 1. And to be honest, I think this movie was my number 1 until I actually started like to think about it and to break it down and to kind of analyze it, and I put it down into number 2, but it's like really, really close to number 1. I know a lot of people say they don't like this movie, or not that they don't like it, but that it's not their favorite. And a lot of people say that they also didn't really like the book compared to the other books. But for me, I was like, I can understand why. I absolutely love this movie. Everything about this movie for me was perfect. I love the beginning scenes of Harry on the swing, kind of like staring into the nothingness, because like me being a person who oftentimes is lost in thoughts, I can kind of put myself in his place, because at this point he's seen the death of Cedric. He knows that Voldemort is back. People don't believe him. He knows what this now means, right? Because with Voldemort being back, everyone is in danger again. So it's like he's in this really, really tough situation. He's living with the Dursleys because he can't live with Sirius Black just yet. And it's like, it's such a bad situation for him to be in. And then on top of that, everything that's happening, now we have him going back into school in Hogwarts, which is the only place where he's happy to be in. And now even there, he doesn't feel safe. And then, oh my God, we have Umbridge. Like, Umbridge is such a terrible character. She is such a good actress, let me tell you. But she's such a terrible, terrible character. She is like the worst character ever. I don't know anyone who couldn't like absolutely hate her. But we have Umbridge, which is, I mean, it's fantastic. She is just fantastic in this movie. The fact that we hate Umbridge more than we hate Voldemort is so incredible. But we have Umbridge, and then everything is just going wrong because with her being in Hogwarts, now they can't practice magic, and we get the defense, like Dumbledore's army, which is, oh, I love Dumbledore's army. The way they put that together. We get Luna. I mean, I love Luna. Luna is one of my favorite characters. So she is introduced also in the Order of the Phoenix. And we have the Thestrals. Maybe it's just a me thing. You know, and again, that's what I was saying in the beginning. Everybody has their own opinions. For me, this is a fantastic movie. I love it. I love it from the beginning all the way till the end. And I think one of my favorite parts of this movie, if I'm honest, is that part where we see Harry on the floor of the Ministry of Magic, where Voldemort is trying to infiltrate his brain and kind of make him feel less than, and telling him and showing him all the things that he's lost, and like all these bad things, and yet Harry can still like find it within him, all the good things that he does have. Oh, that scene for me was so good. And having finally them seeing that he is back, like having the Ministry finally see Voldemort and now believe Harry that he is back, because no one was believing him. Everyone thought, I guess, that maybe he had killed Cedric or whatever. But to have Harry vindicated at the end and people seeing that it's true, that Voldemort is back, for me, this movie was just so good. Like, I can watch this movie over and over and over again and love it every single time. I love it so much. It is definitely on my top 2. So last but not least, in my number 1 spot, we have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, it's really hard to say that this is my favorite Harry Potter movie, because this is also the saddest Harry Potter movie that there is. But I find myself every time I'm watching someone who is reacting to the movies for the first time, really looking forward to the moment where they get to this movie specifically. Just because I feel like this is that movie that just ends it all for us. Everything we've been through from movie 1 all the way till now is for this moment. And it's kind of like a bittersweet sensation, because it's like you're having so many people who are special to you just pass away in this movie, like Fred Weasley and Lupin and Tonks, right? And all that is just so sad. But at the same time, you finally get that moment of Harry defeating Voldemort. This movie, I always cry in this movie because of when Severus gets killed by Voldemort, and then Harry takes his tears to the pensive, and then he sees like all of Snape's story. Snape's story always gets to me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know, he sucks and whatever, or he was creepy. But for me, it was like, oh my God, it's just so heartbreaking. And when he tells Dumbledore the whole always part, oh, I'm always like, oh, crying while I'm watching that part of the movie. But for me, I think if I have to put them in order, like I said, it was a really, really hard call between this one and Order of the Phoenix. But I would have to say that this one is my favorite, which is odd because it's also the saddest one. So this is my ranking of the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts movies. Let me know down below if you agree or you disagree. Also, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel. I am trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers now in 2023. And also, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button so that I know that you did enjoy it. I am so very much looking forward to 2023, and I hope that 2023 brings so many good things your way. I appreciate you guys so much for taking your time and watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.